Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Empire and Virtus.pro. This is best of 3 series coming down to the last few matches of the season here. So this is going to be very, very decisive. All the matches are for the remainder of the season here. Empire has to go up against Virtus.pro and Mousesports in the next few days. Obviously, starting off right now up against Virtus.pro, but it's really, really going to be decisive about how they're going to be placed in the playoff brackets, if they're going to be at all, is really the question there. They definitely have to win at least one of their games, and even if they do win one, if there is a sort of three-way tie, it will complicate things where we have to go for some tiebreaker rounds. Either way, they're obviously wanting to go pretty gung-ho with this one here. Same thing with Virtus.pro if they want any shot whatsoever, but the one thing that is changed very, very drastically is the fact that their roster has shifted. Just recently published on the Team Empire's website, they have shifted out, and Silent and Godblack will no longer be on Empire. And with that, they are having currently 2 stand-in replacements of Hardiv and Twista as the other ones. So we'll see how that works out for them. Of course, losing their main drafter is going to hurt them quite a bit. Hopefully they'll be able to pull through, and we'll have a great game on our hands. But either way, going on into the draft now, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Myself and Blaze, as I mentioned, and here is Vikramon along with me. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Pretty good.
I had all this, I prepped for this game because obviously you mentioned it is important to the playoff aspirations of both teams. I think this is VP's last game of the regular season. They have won, this is just their only remaining game. They need to win it. Empire, I think if they win either one of their next 2, they do actually advance through the playoffs. But I was going to talk about last season of the Premier League where Empire won, VP took second. I was going to talk about the general match history between these 2 teams. But I feel like it actually doesn't matter too much because basically a bomb was just dropped that Empire is changing their roster around. We won't have their standard number 4 or number 5 today. You do see Scandal, not in the... Sorry, Scandal is here, of course. I meant Silent and Godblack not here, replaced by Twista and Hardiv. And what's interesting to me is Twista is actually doing the draft, I guess?
Yeah, exactly.
So... not just a new member, but a new member in a very prominent position. We'll have to see how these positions shake out. Hardiv, of course, the last time we saw him on the pro scene, he was playing the number 5 position for Rockskiss. I wouldn't be surprised if he was taking up the number 5 position again. But with Twista, I'm actually not sure. He may also play support, so he may replace Godblack's position. But we might see him in a different position as well. I know you observed him somewhat when he used to be a professional Han player. I don't remember what roles he actually played in that game.
It's been a long time, man, so I'm not exactly sure. I know that he was in a farm priority role, but I can't remember if it was number 1 or number 2.
Sure.
Either way, I'm sure that a lot of things have changed since then. I know he played for Mousesports for a short time period, and now picking off, like you said, a prominent place in Team Empire here with the draft. He was very, very charismatic and vocal in the lobby chat, so it really, really feels like he wants to jump into this role and take it as a big opportunity to show himself back in the Dota 2 competitive scene. Interesting things coming out already as far as the draft. Just real quick, we do see a Batrider and Magnus banned out from Virtus.pro. Team Empire takes out the IO and the Darkseer, picking up for themselves the Nyx Assassin, Juggernaut, and Shadow Demon, whereas the Virtus.pro has drafted up the Lifestealer and the Bane. So really, really interesting lineups here. 2 magic immune carries, at least when they pop off their first ability, and from there 2 great supports that can counteract that. The Fiend's Grip on the Bane, the Demonic Purge on the Shadow Demon. A lot of potential for controlling back and forth, and I'm interested to see how it will play out.
Right. I like this Queen of Pain pick from VP. If they wanted Queen of Pain, they couldn't wait for it to go through the second ban phase, as it would almost certainly either be banned or Empire would actually take it 4th, up for Vigos, of course. It is basically his number 1 most played and most succeeded hero, I think, since he joined Empire. So, not a surprise there. One interesting... Okay, there's the Lone Druid. I was going to say that if Lone Druid makes it through the second ban phase, I feel like Empire have scored an incredible coup, because that Lone Druid Juggernaut combo is so strong. I am actually somewhat baffled why you would second pick Juggernaut in this situation and not try to lock in the Lone Druid early and the Juggernaut later. Can you speak to that a bit?
Well, a lot of teams now are seeing the potency of that Lone Druid Bear plus the Healing Ward, and generally speaking, if you don't pick both of them up in the first 3, if you pick up just the Lone Druid as a second pick, and then you wait till probably 4th or 5th, we actually see more and more commonly that Juggernaut does get banned out, and if your team lineup relies on them both going together, then you're going to just, and you know that that's not going to be necessarily a guaranteed option, you might as well in this case just look at it and say, okay, which one do we want to prioritize, which one is more important to our mentality here, and generally speaking, you would think the Lone Druid would be more instrumental, but obviously not how they want to run their lanes.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me that they did decide to prioritize, as you said, the lone druid, the juggernaut over the lone druid. But we'll have to see. And again, I'm not actually 100% certain who's going to be playing that farming role on the juggernaut. It could be Blow Your Brain, but we have seen him practicing his number 4 recently, so I honestly don't know. They could shake out a lot of different ways. It's good that we have the opportunity to watch this team like moments after learning about their roster change, because then we won't have to theorize. We don't have to make sort of wild guesses as to how it's going to work out. And there's Vigos' hero. They do pick up the Storm Spirit. We will see that Quap versus Storm Spirit in the mid.
Exactly. So, generally speaking, we're looking at, especially because of that Storm Spirit pickup, we're going to see a defensive tri-lane, presumably from Empire. They could actually run the Juggernaut aggressive with all those 3 there, so there is a possibility of putting a little bit more pressure on the Bane and Lifestealer, but generally speaking, you're just going to see them down in the bottom lane, get a couple levels for Juggernaut to get up that healing ward, and start putting some push in. Interestingly enough, the 2 supports that back him up don't really have much along those lines. They're more oriented around disable and control, and that's something that can be effective in its own right, just not in a synergetic fashion. Either way, though, the Storm Spirit is going to be on mid there, presumably going to still be picked up by Vigos. The one thing that remains true is with Scandal and Vigos still in the roster and not having played around with any of the roles, I'm almost positive that they're going to keep their solos the same. So Storm Spirit should be the same, and whatever off lane they pick up will probably go to Scandal himself. So that'll probably be the most likely situation. But this Rubik ban does throw a wrench in the works, pick does throw a wrench in the work a little bit. You can steal out some really, really good, powerful cooldowns. Demonic Purge to Juggernaut himself, Lockdown with an Omni Slash. I mean, there's a lot of really, really cool spells to steal. It's not the highlight of the draft, but I think that it's still going to be something that comes into play more and more often in team fights.
The Rubik pick is good, but I actually don't think VP's tri-lane is that incredibly strong. If I were Empire, I might start thinking about potentially contesting this tri-lane. They could also do something like a solo safe Juggernaut and score themselves the Gyrocopter right now. I actually think that could be very effective as well, because Bane and Rubik, they're both very strong. They've got good disables, but Bane's Nightmare doesn't really synchronize with Lifestealer that well. He can rage through it, but then, I mean, you lost the effect of the Nightmare, really. And Telekinesis, it's obviously very, very good, and Lifestealer will be able to land quite a few hits in. But I actually think that Shadow Demon, Nyx Assassin, as the 2 supports in a tri-lane, can contest this quite easily. So we'll have to see what Empire actually plays around with as far as potentially going a 3v3.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be more gank-oriented and trying to get kills on the board there. They have a lot of great tools to interrupt the Bane in this situation. Bane, generally speaking, the Fiend's Grip can be such a great utility thrown out there and just screw somebody over completely, but they have so many things to stop it. I mean, literally every single hero has at least one trick up their sleeve to interrupt that Fiend's Grip.
Clock would be really strong, too, I feel like, as a pickup for Empire right now. He made it through, and it's... Okay, that's Weaver.
So they are
Weaver, no, I mean, Weaver's really good, too. As far as solo lane capable heroes that can go up against Lifestealer, Clock and Weaver, they reflect different approaches, but they're both quite good, especially if you can score something like just a 1v1 battle between Weaver and Lifestealer. He's very, very good. He can harass him with the Geminate. He opened wounds essentially is completely shrugged off. He's a pretty strong hero. Empire now have a pretty farm greedy lineup.
Yeah, it's a different style than the Clock 100%. Still adds in a lot of damage there. We actually see Vigos right now picking up the Weaver, at least for the moment, so that could be pretty interesting. But nevertheless, like he said, he kind of plays out in the offlane, surviving with that invisibility, almost like a Clinks, where he can just dish out a lot of single target damage really, really quickly, and all he's trying to do on the lane is just to survive there. We have seen teams like Dignitas run a quick Orchid on him, which could be really good against the Queen of Pain, or just go for some hard right-click damage potential. Either way, though, the Bounty Hunter is going to be a little more difficult to deal with, as unless you're willing to commit a time lapse, KSI is going to be able to track down the Weaver, and that makes Shukuchi that much less stable of an escape mechanism.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is time lapse will remove the track. You don't even have to wait. You don't have to do it in the first 5 seconds or anything. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard sell to say, oh, I need to pop my time lapse just for this track, when all sorts of other bad stuff could happen in the interim. Cool. So they do go for the 3v3, and this is sort of what I suspected, Blaze. I really do think that this tri versus tri lane could favor Empire. It's a question of execution at this point, I feel. The theory is sound. Nyx Assassin, Shadow Demon, Juggernaut should be able to, if not dominate, at least get some advantage against Rubik, Bane, Lifestealer. The only question is, you know, how practiced are Hardeep, Twista, and Blow Your Brain as a unit of 3?
Yep, exactly. Because right now, looking at it, NS, Arzart, and Illidan have all been playing for weeks and weeks, perfecting their tri-lane, perfecting their coordination and their synergy there. Whereas Twista, I'm not sure about his, I'm assuming he speaks Russian, just to be able to communicate actively, but it still might be a limiting factor, the different communication styles there.
Yeah, he definitely speaks some Russian. He was speaking Russian in the lobby, but I don't know what his level of fluency is. He is, of course, he's Norwegian, I think?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we know a lot of teams have major concerns about when they're international, like whether you're able to communicate effectively. It was a big thing on, of course, No Tidehunter. There was all that discussion about when you have a team that all come from the same country, they all have the sort of same cultural background, they can maybe communicate just that critical half-second faster or whatever, instead of having to be like, oh, we need to speak in a common language, etc., etc.
Yeah. So down on bottom lane, Vigas going up against KSI. The Weaver versus Bounty Hunter should be no real problem at all. I mean, Bounty will find some last touch with the Janata, and he will be able to survive okay with the fact that he has a poor man shield. But nevertheless, Weaver is going to have that continuous pressure and a few more opportunities to harass long term, especially with the fact that he's been set up with so much HP regen. He won't be like hardcore farming, but he will be able to overwhelm the Bounty Hunter just a little bit. Neither one shut down, but I think that there will be a little bit of upper hand on that bug there. Either way, on the mid lane, Scandal's picking up the Storm Spirit up against Tame My Wild, who runs that Queen of Pain day in and day out. So very, very practiced on both terms. But in this situation, who do you feel wins the... I understand that after level 6, when level 6 hits, Storm Spirit has a lot more potential. But for the first 5 levels, between Storm and Queen of Pain, who do you opt for?
Definitely Queen of Pain. I mean, Storm is not the absolute strongest of laners. He's not bad, but he won't be able to get a kill on TMW, A. His animation is a little worse, and he does a tiny bit less damage, B. You can see that they opt for the same stats loadout, but I honestly think TMW is going to have the run of this lane early on. He's also able to secure runes better, which is not insignificant as well. So Quap will have the advantage early. The thing for Storm Spirit is, as long as he's able to not die, which Scandal should be able to avoid doing, it depends on the rotation of the supports, but I suspect NS and Arzart are mostly going to be up here most of the time, trying to keep this tri-lane from going poorly. So Scandal won't have to worry too much about the supports rotating to kill him, and as a consequence, I think he'll hit 6 no problem, and probably do okay in last hits, although I'd be surprised if he had the advantage over TMW.
Sure enough, sure enough. Yeah, I really think that the way this try versus try is going to work out means that there's going to be very few rotations early in the game. Maybe the offlaner could come on through when they hit 6 or whatever, but I kind of feel like these lanes are going to be pretty well founded until TMW starts ganking with runes. It's mostly going to be everybody sits in this position here. All 3 of those guys are going to be on top. The solo is going to stick to their mid and bottom positions.
Absolutely. Now, I do have to say that in a static game where none of the supports rotate over, I actually think VP are in slightly better shape than Empire are. Because even though your Storm Spirit is fairly safe, the flip side of that is that Bounty Hunter is fairly safe. In fact, even more so because it would require TPs over instead of just a rotation. And a safe Bounty Hunter is going to be a big factor in this game. Not only does he have the track for Vigas's Weaver, the track on Nyx is not insignificant either. If you can sort of spot that out and prevent him from getting out or into a fight with Vendetta, that's pretty substantial. And again, he's going to be strong against Weaver, strong against a lot of the heroes that they have in this game, and I think that could be quite consequential in the medium to long term.
Yeah. I would say that Hardeep and Twista are going to have a harder time in this situation because they only each have 1 Tango, 1 Clarity, actually pulling a couple of points of regen over to the Juggernaut. But one thing to mention is that the supports on VP are so darn mana reliant. I mean, Bane doesn't even have enough mana right now to cast a second Nightmare. He has to use a Clarity outright on a Nightmare that was relatively worthless. I mean, they took like 60 HP off, and they didn't really do anything else whatsoever. So with that and the fact that NS can only spam out so many Fade Bolts, I think they'll be able to control it well, but not frequently. They need to be very, very precise about how they use their abilities.
Right. Ribik is okay, but Bane early on is an incredibly mana-hungry hero. That's why in pub people always go Soul Ring or what have you, but you're absolutely right, Blaze. I mean, he doesn't have enough mana in his entirety of his mana pool for 2 Nightmares. It's going to be... They have to be very, very conservative about what they actually do. If they can get a kill, then yeah, then they should pop off Telekinesis and Nightmare or what have you. But otherwise, Twista and Hardeep will be able to trade fairly easily with them. And you can see in the bottom lane, KSI also having really no trouble with this at all. He's up to 6 last hits already. Yeah. So, like I said, a static lane's the top lane is the biggest problem for VP. I think middle and bottom are both slightly tilted towards them, so they should be okay.
As the heroes level very, very gradually as they're splitting the experience, which team do you think is going to have more potential moving in levels 2, 3, and 4 for this try versus try?
I definitely think Empire are just going to be favored for a while here. Blow, the healing ward, it's not the most consequential of things, but adding on the Mana Burn now on the Nyx Assassin, adding on the Soul Catcher on the Shadow Demon means that they can at least pick off supports very, very easily. It's going to be tough for Arsart to really do anything in his own defense. I mean, level 1 Brain Sap, it's just not really that huge of a life swing. It's really levels 2 and 3 that it becomes very strong.
Now we do see Open Woods coming out onto Hardy here, going to put some pressure up, but they have so many defensive abilities, I'm not really confident they can get anything done here. He's going to be healed up gradually by the healing ward. There is a Mana Burn thrown out onto NS, but again, just back and forth, battering each other down, but really no chance for anybody to really net a kill. One thing to mention on mid lane is that Tame My Wild is having a really rough time last hitting. He actually has picked it up now, but he was 5 CS moments before. Scandal popping off a double damage rune takes away a huge chunk of his HP, and he only just now has his bottle coming out for the first time entirely. So he didn't contest that bottom rune, he didn't have his bottle. And actually Scandal doing a lot of right-click damage is going to be enough with that double damage rune. Bottle not swift enough, and they're actually able to net the kill.
Yeah, that's the DD rune, really. Having that extra damage made him very, very advantaged. And actually, Vigos dealing a tremendous amount of harassment to KSI here, too. I think KSI and TMW were both playing a little loose as far as how far up they were going and trying to get harass off. And also, TMW there, not really getting the rune control at all. They don't have great vision, but neither do Empire. Oh, no.
More
TMW copping a tremendous amount of harassment.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Again.
Scandal doesn't have Ball Lightning, though, so he's going to have to go all in right here, and this actually could be way too deep. He goes for that last right click, gets the overload, but here comes the blink, here comes the scream. Scandal doesn't have double damage rune anymore. He can drop a Remnant, but he's probably going to drop here, and that's going to be a return kill. But uphill, he doesn't finish it off. Very close, but yeah, the dot taken away. TMW finishes it off, lets the creeps do his bidding, and from there he will be able to net a return kill, which relatively evens out the experience. Actually a little bit better for Queen of Pain, as the Storm was the higher level kill.
Yeah, not having the rank 2 Scream of Pain until now was kind of painful for TMW. And KSI copying more and more harassment bottom here as well. I do think that Empire, they haven't really gotten enough done in the try versus try, actually, I think. They had a slight advantage, but VP played very, very smart. The fact that they've gone into that sort of defensive posture and just held the line has actually really starved Empire of XP. Because Illidan has gotten all the levels he could possibly want. He's level 5, and Blow Your Brain just hit level 4. Whereas, in terms of supports, everybody's stuck at level 2. So if your carry is at an advantage and your supports aren't at a disadvantage, you can say that you more or less won that lane. And this aggressive try hasn't really gotten as much done as I think Empire would have loved it to.
They're extremely unwary about going on Illidan. He's like in the most vulnerable positions. He has a full creep wave on him in front of 3 heroes, but they don't want to go. They know he has that rage. They know how survivable he is.
Scandal.
Dropping low, but I think he'll be alright. Actually, might go on in. Oh my gosh, if he really went that ballsy, I don't even know. We do it on top, see the kill on the Nyx Assassin, the spin coming on through. NS might be denied here, and he actually does get denied in the end, so that's really, really good use of the Nightmare. Blow Your Brain knew he couldn't right-click it down, otherwise he himself would have been slept. We do see Soul Catcher coming out Illidan, but he pops out that rage, gets the right-clicks to finish off that Shadow Demon, but now taking a lot of damage. He's going to have to watch himself. Either way, though, that is going to be 2 kills for absolutely nothing on the top lane.
Right. I mean, the deny gets them just about nothing there. That's really, really bad for Empire, actually. This try versus try situation was fairly important for them. It's why you and I mentioned it so many times. And they've kept these supports here. I mean, they haven't put any pressure on mid or on top. So you see KSI, he's actually halfway through level 6. He's got his track. This is a successful bounty hunter, even if he didn't dominate this lane.
Sure.
Which nobody would expect him to. And he's more or less matched Vegas' last hits. He's about 5 behind, but that's not too bad for melee against ranged with double attacks.
Yeah.
Like, I think KSI, they're very happy with his performance in this lane. And TMW... he hasn't really gotten rune control at all, but nonetheless, he has managed to hold his own in this lane. Scandal with an invis, though.
Yeah, they knew he picked it up, so they're going to be able to fall back relatively underneath the tower. Actually dropped the Sentry Ward. They're not showing it yet. This is perfect from them. They're going to actually be able to bring him down, possibly. He has the Ball Lightning, but not enough time. Perfect, perfect counter initiation.
Sick. Really, really good. I love the... Sentry, but like, play it cool, guys. Play it cool.
Don't touch him.
And
then
Scandal just walks right into it.
Yeah, exactly. Just couldn't have been a worse situation for him there. Had no idea about that Sentry Ward. That was actually NS's second Sentry, so he actually had an empty inventory when the Storm Spirit got Vision. Nighttime not providing too much, so he had no idea. that a sentry could possibly be there, and of course they played it really, really cool, not wasting any auto attacks on him, not scaring him off. They pulled him on in, and hook, line, and sinker, they were able to bring down a level 6 solo mid, but Queen of Pain taking a lot of damage. Scandal bringing him down quickly, but Tame My Wild can turn this around. Sonic Wave will come out and get another kill onto Scandal. Oh my gosh, very unfortunate. That's his third death this game.
I don't know if this is just because Scandal, I don't know, like he hasn't played mid professionally for Empire in a little bit. He used to be there mid, and he was very strong in my opinion. At the time that Empire was running Scandal primarily solo mid, I would have rated him in the top 3 or 4 mid players in Europe, but I don't know, I feel like he's getting a little overly aggressive. That first blood gave him so much confidence, and he is sort of, I don't want to say he's feeding, but he's making unnecessary calls in terms of the aggression level. It's not critical for you to kill Queen of Pain 3 times in the laning phase. Like, what do you actually get from it?
Yeah.
In consequence to what if you just repeatedly die? Soul Ring on Vegas, though, this is kind of cool.
I saw that was pretty interesting. But we do have 3 people stalking up in the trees. They want to initiate. They don't have the Sonic Wave, so it will be harder to burst them down before that time lapse comes on through, but they still want to go for it. The Treads increases maximum HP, so again, it's going to be a lot to chew through here. I'm really, really curious if they're actually going to be able to make something happen. The Soul Ring is pretty interesting, I guess, until they initiate. I'll comment on that. That allows them to Shukuchi multiple times over. He actually sees Tame My Wild, so they're going to fall back from here. But Shukuchi's cooldown is only 6 seconds, so in that, actually, we do see, no, balling on him, just picking up the rune. Never mind. But yeah, anyways, there's a 10-second duration for the Soul Ring. You can Shukuchi twice with it. That's 120 of the 150 mana, and so pretty much it just gives you 2 free, very, very powerful nukes that can really win you the lane outright. It is a hefty chunk of gold, 800 there, but it does help them out quite a bit. We do see Nightmare up on top. Smile should drop down here with the Scandal, pulling him into the Vortex. Lots of right-click damage, but he does get the Brain Sap off. Heals on away, and Scandal's going to be a track kill for 4 heroes right here. Just fading it away. That's a ton of gold going Virtus Pro's direction.
It's just still a little, the execution is still a little sloppy from Empire. None of these are necessarily terrible ideas on their own, but it's just a little bit of over-aggression from the Storm Spirit. Storm Spirit, he's got a great early, like, pseudo-disable in the, I mean, he has a hard disable with the lasso, and he's got pseudo-disables with the constant slows, but I think Scandal is just overestimating the amount of impact that he can have on this game so far, and it's waning as he keeps dying. He has 4 deaths. 2/3 of his team's deaths are this one guy.
Yeah, and the worst part is he got a ton of levels, and then he started feeding those away. He's been level 6 for, I think, 3 of those 4 deaths. So, actually, I did miss out a kill. The Lifesteal was able to dive up on the top tower, bring down the Nyx Assassin, but return kill. Blow Your Brain's able to pick up the Rubik after spinning, after right-clicking it up. Is tracked, but I think he might be able to bail. He could just TP right now, but unfortunately he doesn't realize KSI is coming on through the side. Orb of Venom and Janata slow, keeping him locked down. He does have mana for that Omni Slash. On mid lane, oh crap, 2 fights at once. We're going to see that Blow Your Brain does get nuked down in the end. Meanwhile, in mid lane, Scandal was able to initiate very, very effectively on the Queen of Pain, and with the help of the Shadow Demon, was able to burst her down.
Yeah, but that's still not a great trade, because it's track for not track, and you lost your #1 hero. Not that they could have done anything about Blow.
No.
Once he had jumped in on NS, he had essentially signed his own death warrant in exchange for the fact that he killed that support.
Why would you go for that?
It would have been very, very tough for him to escape.
I mean, I knew he didn't know about KSI necessarily, the wards for just now revealing them. Yeah, Smile Spectre. So that's pretty good, awesome for them. And I don't think that Illidan can do anything about it. But yeah, these wards, all these observer wards are up, and I'm not sure if it gave them enough vision and time or if the bounty hunter was shadow walked up. But either way, in that position, when Blow Your Brain committed to an S, like he said, he signed his own death warrant. And the problem is you're getting a support kill, and then your carrier's dying and giving away track gold. So in that situation there, you lost so much. Even committed an Omni Slash for a wishful thinking kill, but just not going to happen there in that situation. We do see Illidan dishing out quite a bit of damage. He maxed out Feast, which means that he won't have as much magic immunity to work with early on, but right now it still doesn't seem like Hardeve or Twista really want to make him pay for it. I think they're waiting for the Electric Vortex coming on in, pulling on Illidan. They will get the Vortex off, follow-up stuns, and they should immediately incinerate him and look for a tier 1 with this healing ward.
That was really good. He probably needed to pop Rage a little sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because...
reflexes, man. Weaver does get picked off down on bottom lane, though. They do get the Fiend's Grip to commit to him, bring him down yet again before the time lapse can come on out. It is another track kill, I believe, but it is also tier 1 and exchange, so Empire at least getting something for the loss down there.
It's an okay trade for Empire. They putting Scandal in the room of more kills is helping the fact that he's at quite a bit of an XP deficit to TMW. If he can participate in a lot of kills, he'll sort of make up that difference and start adding some gold onto his total. So sometimes it's an unintuitive thing to do, but sometimes if you're on this critical mid-ganking role and you fall behind, you need to commit more heavily to it rather than just sort of seed. And that's what they're doing, and I actually think it's fairly smart, because they have gotten Scandal back into the game, essentially.
Yeah, most definitely. They've needed to, because like you're saying, he was kind of overestimating how much impact he had on the engagements, and a little bit of underestimating on the Virtus Pro, where they were, he was thinking that they wouldn't rotate, they wouldn't respond to his initiations. But Storm Spirit isn't one of those heroes that just jumps in and two-shots somebody. He's actually got a kind of a gradual wear-them-down process with the Ball Lightning, with his overload procs that he sends on through. We do see a tracked up Vigos trying to make something happen on here on the Bane. They jump on in, they get everything on NS. He's going to be bursted immediately. Do they have detection for KSI is the question. Actually, Shukuchi stolen. Do they have any detection at all? And it looks like not at all. Oh, that's so painful.
That was a really, really sick Shuki play. Good steal there by NS.
He stole it actually when the Reaver was underneath the Tier 1 tower, so he has had it for about 30 seconds, but still, great timing for it, and very, very sad that Empire didn't realize that, because obviously the Weaver should know when he gets stolen from, and in that situation, no detection requirements were communicated. So Hardy being flanked up here, but it looks like KSI would be... I don't know, he has two people right up there. So yeah, 3 people involved. They get a good telekinesis off on Blow Your Brain. They burst down Hardy. Underneath track, nice defensive disruption though. It's going to take Tamo Wild's Scream after the fact to finish it off. So they do get that. They get the track kill, and more Virtus Pro seems in control of this game.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a kill advantage, it's track, they kind of have map control as well, I feel. Empire is going to find it more and more difficult to make sorties into this jungle, whereas VP right now are ruling this jungle. Yeah.
Another Fiend's Grip kill onto Vigos. It's tracked again. I think, honestly, 80% of these kills have been tracked. Like, Bounty Hunter's been everywhere.
I mean, KSI, well, he's only 2-0-2, but he's had a couple tracks that he didn't actually get the assist credit for, because track by itself will not give you credit.
Yeah.
So he's had more tracks than this KDA would indicate, so I think you're more or less right. Many of the kills have had track participation. And again, that's the fact that there was no pressure that Empire could exert on Bounty Hunter early. He's most of the way to Vlad's now, and that's going to be very useful for that Lifestealer.
Yep, helping him a lot. Illidan has opted for an Armlet Rush, so he's got the recipe in bank. He's going to finish that out pretty quickly.
Not much of a rush. It's a little slow. I mean, it was that 3v3 lane, and he did cop a death, but still, it's not a bad time for Armlet.
Can't complain about it at all, in my opinion. But anyway, Smile going to be taking some damage here without any extra mana, though. The Nyx Assassin's just going to break through Scandal. He's going to try to do what he can, but unfortunately, the extra little bit of damage is not there. They don't have any global presence with their draft. They pretty much have to go in with what they have, and Scandal has to realize that he's more bark than bite right now. He really disables them and locks them in position, but until they get the Juggernaut there, or the Weaver for that matter, they're not going to actually be able to net the kills. So in that situation, not really much more than just scaring them off.
Right. I think the good news, trapped out, 840, Twisted, Cups, Rubik and Illidan.
You don't get a chance for good news, man. No good news in this situation. But anyways, coming on in, NS with that Shukuchi, he can pretty much do whatever he wants, because the Nyx Assassin was the one with the sentries. They do not have detection.
They still don't have detection.
They had it on Nyx, and he died, so, you know.
I don't know, man. That's a little shameful. I mean, I think this is a free tower for VP, and NS lives. Empire just can't really find the kills. I feel like they haven't quite put together a roster that really goes to the strengths of this Storm Spirit, basically. No. It would be one thing if they had Lifestealer, but they have Juggernaut, the poor man's Lifestealer that pushes. Like...
Yeah, if they had a Lifestealer instead of a Juggernaut, I think they would have opted for a Clockwork over the Weaver, so you could go for Super Nyx bombs, Ball Lightning in, Hookshot in, and have the Lifesteal invested in one of them. So I think that would have had a lot more potential than that kind of quick pick-off, long-range initiation style. But in this situation here, it's just a completely different set of heroes that go along with the Storm.
NS no longer has the Shukuchi, so he could be in a little trouble. Smile, he gets found out. Totally found out.
Yep, actually 2 fights breaking out. First is going to be Smile, but also looking at NS here. He gets the Shukuchi once again, though, because the time-lapse just doesn't get used very frequently. So NS, nice juke, invisible on into the trees, and is able to net that TP scroll before the Shadow Poison can give him away. So they did lose the Bane, but honestly, not that bad given their position.
I don't think they have any problem. And there's a Sentry Ward on the ground now, but it's not going to actually do very much for Empire's efforts. I don't know. I think losing Arsart, not the end of the world. They're still up like 6,000 gold or so, and about the same amount of XP. And if you're VP, you feel really good about that right now. It generates lots of space for Illidan on the Lifestealer to get bigger. You kind of worry vaguely about Vigos, but because he has gone this very like ungreedy build, like the Soul Ring, the casual Vitality booster, it's going to be a while before Weaver has anything to actually threaten anybody. And he's the only person who's really had a good time farming.
Oh, good move from Vigas. Holy crap. That was almost like 100% certain kill. Vigas friggin' Shikuchis into the shop, buys a TP scroll, time lapses out. They all go in on him and they lose sight of him completely. That was exactly what he needed to do, because actually, NS will get this telekinesis and steal the Shikuchi once more just because. Up on top, they do pick off an Illidan. I'm still curious if they're going to be able to go on this. Blow Your Brain looking for big Omni Slash. He is Fade Bolted up and jumps onto Creeps. After that, Rubik is slept on through. They are able to bring him down. Either way, the Fiend's Grip will come on through. There is going to be also a Sonic Wave popped off to try to force Vigas out of the fight. They bring down the Shadow Demon looking for Blow Your Brain. They have the movement speed to catch up to him here, and I think they actually can do it.
I'm not sure, actually. I think he might be okay.
No, I mean, the Janata's about to strike, and that's just too much. They have such a movement speed advantage right now. Yes, he has drums, and he used the charge, but that track gives so much movement speed. Phase on top, the Blink, Queen of Pain. It's just really, really hard to get out of that kind of situation. So they do net the kills. They did lose Illidan, so that's obviously unfortunate for them. That was a 2 versus 1 on top lane.
It was Blow and Scandal. Illidan, I don't know why Airman felt so confident that he could get this tower, but it was just a quick rotation from Scandal generating that kill. So I actually think Empire are okay with this trade because Vigos makes it out. Good defensive disruption from Hardeev too. Good coordination to actually respond, not immediately, but fast enough to the Fiend's Grip with the defensive disruption on the Fiend's Grip target. So that's always something that you can do. It really does make Shadow Demon an effective response to Bane in some respects, so I like it.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of potential there when used at the right time. The problem is getting in the right position to do so, because now if the supports are anywhere near the front line, they're going to get just completely destroyed. They don't have great detection, as we've mentioned, and Bounty Hunter can just slip on through the enemy lines and just kind of sneak attack them from behind, play it Riki style or whatever. But yeah, right now Virtus Pro in a great position despite the loss of Illidan on the top lane, because what they were doing on the bottom as far as aggression goes, they were willing to commit everything to try to bring down the right target, in my opinion. The Weaver has a lot of potential if you can get a little bit more farm, but right now, sitting on a Vitality booster and 1k gold, doesn't have too much. So walking right on into a Gem of True Sight, but he is actually going to go for that Shikuchi, that time lapse. Will be able to avoid it now. Scandal pulled back in. This could be huge if they get the gem. They really, really desperately need this gem, but Smile still lives. There's the Impale, bursting him down. Blow Your Brain spins on through. They get the gem on the Weaver himself, and they might be able to turn this around. There's a Sentry Ward, though. Vigas has to run. Blow Your Brain in a rough spot. Gets tracked up. And they're just going to try to close the distance. Apollos does come out based on a disconnect from the Shadow Demon, but honestly, he's dead for 17 seconds. I'd much prefer to see this played out for about 13 to 15 seconds, and since he doesn't have buyback or anything like that.
Well, don't tell it to me, Blaze. Go ahead and tell the teams. No, but this is okay for Empire so far. You're actually okay trading away another kill if you can secure the other team's gem. Especially considering how much Empire have struggled to actually, you know, see anybody, like, ever get detection for the Bounty Hunter, ever get detection for Shikuchi using Rubik. I think they're actually okay if they don't lose any more. The problem is I'm not sure how Blow is going to survive this fight. He actually has Omni Slash in about a couple seconds, 3 seconds or so, so that might help him survive, but it's just going to put him right back on top of Virtus Pro's lineup, so this is probably a dead blow. He is tracked, so it's extra gold that way as well. So VP, I think, still more or less happy with this. Blaze, I really feel, maybe I'm wrong here, could Empire be doing more to use the side of the map that they still have this tower in? I feel like they're picking fights when they're behind, rather than sort of trying to get their greedy lineup up to a position where they can pick fights later.
I don't feel they're necessarily picking fights to an extent. Obviously, this isn't the case in this specific one, but I'll explain it more thoroughly. Really, the initiation comes out from Virtus Pro. They swoop in into the Radiant jungle. They try to put some pressure on Vigas. They're confident they have a gem, they have a Fiend's Grip available, and they want to lock him down. It's through cool moves by Vigas where he is able to break line of sight and be able to maneuver back to relative safely. That sets Empire up in a position to initiate. They're close enough at hand, and they feel that they want to actually respond to the fact that Virtus Pro just dived right in front of their tier 2. So I kind of feel like VP is the ones forcing the issue initially, but Empire, it doesn't have a disengaged mindset. They're just like, never surrender, never go all in, and they respond to that situation when there's things like the Weaver having already used his time lapse. In that sense, I really, really feel they could benefit more from the fact that they have that northern map control on the top lane. They could use farm up their ancients more actively. They could do other things where they're not just constantly farming down here. But I still think in the end it's about the fact that Virtus.pro is initiating in this, and they don't feel like cowering under a tower for next 10 minutes.
Yeah, but that's definitely within. As a Russian myself, I can definitely say that even the thought of cowering under a tower gives me unpleasant goosebumps, and I want to say no, we will never cower. But I don't know. I think a little cowering would do Empire a lot of good. Scandal, he's been very bold, and he's honestly improved his position drastically. He went from 1-4 to 5-4, but this is still a Storm Spirit who's about 2 levels behind the core heroes of VP, and he's sitting on the untold bounties of Treads and 2 Null Talismans. Like, eventually, he's just going to peter out a little bit. He's just going to become basically an Electric Vortex bot, if that's not what he is already. And because they do have 3 core heroes that I feel are all going to be really useful with additional items, they're looking okay now. They're making okay trades right now. But let's talk about 5 minutes from now. Let's talk about 10 minutes from now, where if they keep trading 3 for 3, VP gets about 40% more from that as a result of simply having KSI on the team. So if they have Vlad's now, and none of the 3 heroes of Empire really have any core items, and they have Armlet, what about the fight at 25 minutes when Lifestealer has a complete Assault Cuirass, for instance, and Bounty Hunter has, I don't know, BKB? That's going to look really bleak.
Alright, well, let's see how this works out. If Blow Your Brain will be locked down here, they need one more big right-click. The Janata slow, the Orb of Venom, they should be able to lock him down 100%. Of course, Scandal had plenty of mana to disengage, and we also see Vigos keeping on out of there effectively. So that was the kill that I thought that they could claim, and indeed they do. The Tier 2 tower follow-up, no, they might go for Roche. They have the Vlads, and they actually can burn it down very, very quickly.
Definitely. I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
No, I mean, securing Roshan, at that point, I can't imagine Empire feeling comfortable just taking these trades, because Roche, it's not the end of the world for them, but I just don't know how they can possibly win a fight. Like, they're going to be at an item deficit. There's still the track issue. They finally have detection, so if they can take KSI out early, actually, who have they transferred the gem onto?
To Nyx Assassin.
Nyx Assassin. Okay, I like this, actually, because he's one of their better initiation options, just because Scandal has to waste a lot of his mana to do a long-range initiation, whereas the Nyx Assassin initiation, now that Virtus.pro don't have a gem, is essentially free. He's building up towards Urn, too. I think Urn would actually be very useful for them.
Yeah, he just has to watch himself. He doesn't want to be, although he's great for initiating, that stun isn't as good as it used to be, and in that sense, they really, really have to watch where the Nyx goes, because, of course, we saw how it worked out when he had Sentry Wards and the rest of the team did not. The same thing can just as easily happen for the gem. Carapace is great against avoiding Fiend's Grip and things like that. Tamo, wow, oh my gosh, I thought he was going to farm and juke. I thought he was going to run around and juke, but instead just farming away.
He's got the Orchid.
Catches sight of Scandal. There's the TP. With that ball lightning, he's going to be able to get on out of there. So, very, very close, but unfortunately the guys on the front line didn't have any way to prevent that. So, interesting situation. They got a deny on the top tier 1, Blow Your Brain pushing out that lane, whereas Vigos is going to take up the mid. I presume they want to just put the tier 2 pressure on in so they can end this game while they have the advantage.
Absolutely. I think VP want to put as much pressure on as possible. You don't need to get that much more ahead in this situation because you already have a 2-level lead on everybody, basically. And you
going on in, Tamo, the focus target that he can't get the Sonic Wave off. He'll be bursted too fast. Illidan has 2 lives, but he is actually going to be this Demonic Purge, and a nice defensive disruption means he can't do very much at all. Has to invest in the creep. The Fiend's Grip comes on and Blow Your Brain, right-clicking down quickly, but the stuns come out. The Rage is not there, so his first life is in the ground. Now we'll have to see what comes up next. But right now they're underneath the tower. They have to go in when he respawns, and they indeed do. Coming on through, they get the open wounds up. Rages through the Carapace. He'll be able to bring down Twista, I forgot his name for a second. And I'm not sure about the gem, but either way, they're going to take this tier 2.
Not the best trade in the world for VP. TMW got hella caught out.
Where's the gem?
Supports were way
Did they kill
behind
it?
their 3 cores. But still, I mean, the tower, it's okay. It's not a bad trade.
Where is the gem? Did they kill it?
Well, Twista died, and they didn't transfer it, so I assume it got destroyed.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a lot better for them than obviously handing it right back over to Virtus.pro. It's on the courier? Oh, shoot, then they're perfectly fine. Like, of course they don't want to lose continuous ground, but if they had lost that gem and put it right back in the enemy's hands, I really, really felt like that would have been almost the last straw. Of course, it's still easier said than done to take high ground without Aegis, and so they probably have to wait it out a little bit longer. But this gem, I honestly think it's worth a lot more than just the 700 gold you put into it. It's really, really big deal for the Stolen Chikuchis and the Bounty Hunter or the Weaver. Whoever, when they have vision, they have that lockdown, they suddenly change how the fights break down. It's 100% a different initiation order.
This is that unusual situation where part of the reason Bounty Hunter lost popularity in the current metagame is because teams would just put an overwhelming amount of pressure on him in lane. And you can still win with Bounty Hunter, but usually we see teams these days, when they run Bounty Hunter, he ends up at a pretty low level and he's just sort of a track bot. But KSI has had an amazing game. We're going to have a fight, by the way.
Yeah, trying to initiate. It pops off the Rage super early, though. We do see this Disruption and the Orchid come down onto Scandal. The silence expires, and he can do whatever he wants here. The first kill came out on an NS. I'm not sure why they're not going further. I guess they do realize that there are still many, many damage dealers up and available, and they just don't want to force fights. Obviously, you were talking about not going and engaging on the enemy's ground when you have so much ground to defend yourselves.
Right.
But, yeah, in this case, they just really, really don't feel confident about going any further.
I'm not sure, yeah. I think some of them wanted to, because otherwise why use Omni Slash, but unfortunately they do use up that Omni Slash. One of the nice things about Empire's lineup is they can really bring down that Lifestealer. I mean, Omni Slash doesn't care about Rage. Weaver doesn't really care very much about Rage either, so they have a lot of damage that they can actually deal to Airman. But unfortunately, right there, they didn't have all the recipes for it. They just get the one kill on NS, which is okay, but it's not going to deflect VP's aggressive posture. They are going very aggressive, by the way. I mean, Desolator on Airman. The BKB, very, very smart on KSI. I was just talking about how KSI has had a fantastic game. 86 last hits is not slouchy at all for a hard lane Bounty Hunter, although obviously he had a 1v1. And he's gotten good items. He's 5-0-5.
Really good items, yeah.
How often do you see a Bounty Hunter never die? Like...
Yeah, it's very, much, much easier said than done. They do get some vision on top of him, but nevertheless, the lad's the BKB. He can really, really accomplish a lot. We do see Vegos pushing down tier 1 bottom lane. He will get the tower kill with the help of the siege, but we actually see a big Orchid initiation. Boom! Oh my gosh, dropping the hammer. TMW even gets the deny. I thought that was just going to be, hey, it's a Queen of Pain. She's going to try to force him out. Oh my gosh. Damage everywhere. That was ridiculous.
I mean, Orchid's amazing against Weaver and against Storm Spirit. It makes perfect sense that TMW with the Orchid. I actually thought that we might have gone double Orchid with. I was considering Airman maybe going for it, but just having it on TMW is good enough. And that initiation, I mean, Vegos, he still basically doesn't have anything, Blaze.
Yeah.
Like, he just has the casual Vit Booster, the Soul Ring, and what I assume is the beginnings of a Linken's, but it is the beginnings of a Linken's. Like, he's not that close to it.
Either Linken's or Manta. To avoid that Orchid, he needs one of the two. And most
yeah, I guess it could be Manta. But then still his stats are just nothing to write home about. Actually, no, I like Manta the more I think about it, but still.
A little bit of extra agility, a little bit extra oomph on the Geminates, but he still has a long way to go. I mean, right now it's an Ultimate Orb, and an Ultimate Orb is the least cost-efficient item, other than, I mean, it's great for item slots, but terrible as far as gold per stats, and so until you build it into something really relevant, he's actually just sitting on, you know, trash.
Finally, they get a Fiend's Grip that Shadow Demon isn't anywhere near.
Yeah, big stuns come out, though. Smile's going to take a lot of damage here, but it's going to be the death of the Nyx first. They get the gem themselves, and now are going to be focusing down hardcore onto Scandal. They don't get the Orchid out on him, though, so he's actually going to be able to do whatever he wants. KSI focuses down on Hardy, has that BKB, so he's rather fearless right now. On the northern end of the fight, though, there is going to be a lot of damage coming in to bring down Vegos. Looking for more. The Omni Slash does drop down, but he's just going to go on the run. Slow down too much, bursted hard. He gets dropped, but they actually Orchided the Juggernaut instead of the Storm, so they don't get that 5th kill, but nevertheless, that's a 4 for 0 with many, many tracks involved.
And Blow is tracked too. I mean, at this, I'm just telling you, man, it's the level and item deficit, and it's really paying off. Like, Scandal, he just has part of a BKB right now. Not even a whole BKB. He's close. He's about 500 gold away, but what can the Storm really bring to the table other than Electric Vortex? And in that fight, the Electric Vortex actually got stolen out by NS, so it's like he almost didn't even bring that because it was countered. I feel like they went with a fairly greedy lineup and then tried to go balls to the wall with it, which it's kind of incongruous in terms of just the approach.
Yeah.
No, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. It's just... It's difficult. The match kind of went downhill for them, or at least this game here, went more and more the wrong direction when they had so much emphasis on Scandal accomplishing a lot once he was 6. I mean, that's what you do when you pick a Storm Spirit, to say he's got ball lightning, he can survive very well, and he can burst down hard at the same time. But in this position here, he got 6, and then he fed 3 times. He tried to make things happen. He had great intentions, but, you know, it's just that kind of standard professional Russian Storm Spirit has no fear, and unfortunately, that's not going to be...
YOLO solo style, yeah. Oh, no, Vegas. No, no, no.
Yeah. That sucks.
That's just unnecessary. I mean, you know they took the gem back.
Yeah, of course. Because it has that safe and sound.
I mean, Empire, it's okay, honestly. You never expect this may be their literal first game with this lineup. Like, I'm sure they've scrimmed
I hope
a
not.
bit.
I don't think so. I would.
But it's at least their first professional game.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
Literally, the announcement was what?
Yeah,
like
no, it definitely was their first
ago?
professional game. That is 100% true. Tamo Wild almost finishing off the Orkin, might be able to finish off Hardy if it does. And they clean up, of course, the Storm Spirit on the front line. I don't know if it's even worth calling anymore, because a good game comes out, and they can pretty much take every set of racks they want.
I don't know. I actually think so. I have to say, Hardeev in his first game, I liked his play on Shadow Demon. Even though he's 0-7 and 4, the disruptions were extremely on point, and it was a very useful spell to take against this team because, particularly in response to the Fiends group, you can see that now by the end. Who's on the? Arsart has actually gotten his BKB, and it's still not that useful because they can turn off your Fiend's Grip just by disruptioning the target rather than you. So that's good. I actually thought Hardeev had a lot of good disruptions this game, but just something hasn't quite gelled yet. And that's okay. I mean, you wouldn't expect it to gel quite yet. But it just seemed like they sort of had 2 different plans that didn't really come together. Like, they had the we're going to win early because Storm Spirit is going to do well plan, and then when that failed, they didn't really shift gears to another plan. They just sort of did that more, and it worked for 10-ish minutes and then went to ship, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they, like you said, something hasn't really clicked, and in this situation, it seemed like there was a little bit of disrespect to Virtus Pro. They really just didn't think that they would respond and play in a certain style that really screwed them over. I think Vegas has some great respect where, like, he was avoiding the oncoming smoke ganks without even seeing them, and he definitely had the right mindset of playing in the right position and making sure that he wasn't caught out until the very end. But the rest of the team, that top lane, a lot of the engagements, they took skirmishes that showed that they didn't really think that NS or Smile could really jump on in and make something happen. And of course they can because they're great players and they find those opportunities. So in general, the aggressive tri lane I feel should have worked a bit better. And of course Storm Spirit, level 6, you got to get the kills, not give them away. So hopefully they'll be able to shape that up a little bit here. And of course, like you said, their literally first competitive game with this roster, with this lineup here. And hopefully they'll be able to bring it back together a little bit for Game 2. It is a best-of-3 series, so Virtus Pro taking the first game, but I'm excited to see what they have to bring to the table, what different styles they're going to project, and bring for this one upcoming.
Absolutely. All right,
we're going to be going on into Game 2. Are you out for the draft?
Probably, yes. I'm going to take a meeting, and then I'll be in after the draft ends.
All right, sounds good. So 10 to 15 minutes, I'll be solo casting, and then we'll have Vikrman jumping back on into it. But cool game, and we'll see what comes up for the next one.
Yep, talk to y'all later.
See ya.